What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Rise Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Mike Avelli. On today's episode, we've got very special guests, my good friends Bryce and Joel. They started an amazing venture out in college, or while they were in college, called Wilminvest, where they go to Wilmington, buy old houses, renovate them, and then they work with the state to provide housing opportunities to those in need and to those that qualify for their program. So they're doing amazing things. Their model is trying to be used in different states. They have people contacting them all the time. So they're killing shit right now, for lack of better words. And I'm just really excited to provide this podcast for you guys because I feel like there's a lot of good information in here, and these guys are such great role models. So, without further ado, Bryce and Joel.
We believe that we need to help give people the tools and the resources. That's why, the state's come to us and asked us to put together and maintain the right type of safe environment that in which these sort of programs can actually thrive. And I'll be honest, we're still exactly figuring out what this social impact part means. What does a real estate developer, what is the exact role? We think it has something to do with bringing together, the community and the actual neighborhood that we're living in. Because over the past couple months of actually fixing up the homes, Joel and I have gotten to know the neighbors
and as
the
community. I'm sure you'll figure that
out.
The
whole
block,
the whole block, and the block knows who Wilminvest and who Joel and Bryce are.
That's dope.
Yeah. So we hope to continue to carry this and sponsor community days where we will put out,
not just invest in the community, but be
actually be there and say, here's tools to clean it up. Actually clean up the streets, the sidewalk. And let's go get all the trash out of this lot right next to us.
Next door.
Give a place for the kids to play.
That's
it's just.
So the big question for me is, how do you guys get paid?
So we that's funny. So we obviously own, a portion of the company. Us collectively, the founders, and we're also looking at potentially bringing on some new employees or help in the future. But collectively there's a worth of the portfolio. There's hard real estate assets which is.
So if you guys were to sell the real estate assets, then you would get your equity.
So it's between that and a combination of the cash flows that we have on the properties. That is obviously at the beginning we're not going to really, and we haven't been pulling money out of the company. Real estate is super capital intensive, so it's a long-term play. This is by no means like a short-term. You can't get your money in you can't get instant gratification in real estate. It's a super long-term play.
For sure.
We're probably going to have a balance of, selling and holding assets. If we need cash, we'll make off one house. But the main thing is through this potential banking partnership, if we exit, the individuals and then they get a private mortgage, we would essentially cash out, and then a piece would go to our investor, and the remaining would then get split among us. But it's paid just pretty much like any other business. If there's profits at the end of the month, we can pay ourselves back, but particularly with real estate, we
and is the state is paying you guys for?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're partnered with. We're actually registered as a commercial real estate vendor through the state of Delaware's their accounting program.
Does he get paid to the state? Nice.
Yeah.
You get that check every single month.
It is. We we are.
You never have to go and chase them down.
No.
It's the only thing they're good for.
So we are talking with a couple private investors, and there's even some foundations and banks, like I said, trying to get involved in this. So there may be other avenues where we may get payments from other places, but for now we are partnered with the state, and it is a nice situation.
It's rewarding because our customers and the relationships we have within these programs in the state, they are just as interested in innovating in the space as we are. And we definitely alluded to that, but that that just goes to play as to what kind of model are we actually building. People ask us all the time, when can you bring your model to Philly? When you can bring your model to New York? Other things like that. And we truly believe that we talked about how social impact real estate investing is new. We truly believe we're at the forefront of innovating and developing how public housing needs to be treated in the future. You know, there's the government, the nonprofits, and the private sector, and all three of these entities need to work together. And of course, it's a dream to work together in unison perfectly. And you know, is it realistic to say that they ever will work together in unison? Well,
What do you think
no.
is the biggest problem to having it work that way?
To government.
Government intervention?
As a joke. No, well, there's a lot of, and this is, you know, we've been doing research in the space for 2-3 years, and when you go down this path of, you know, nonprofit and government collaboration, you realize there's certain red flags around. You realize certain policy, specifically in this place, has been set up to separate family structures and keep certain, you know, groups of people down. It really seems like between the, you know,
Like the whole
nonprofits,
D-block
there's a
and-
very, you know, crazy history with a lot of these government agencies and nonprofits, and it seems almost like it's been engineered in a lot of the, you know, times, and it seems like unraveling. You know, times are changing. You know, people are caring and looking at this stuff more, but you know, that definitely had a big impact on a lot of it, because there's shark infested waters, as we've been saying. That's one of the things, this whole government space. But you know, bureaucracy, you know, it's good. We
You
need
guys
it for
aren't sharks,
protection.
you're dolphins.
We're
Fight
trying
off
to
the
do
sharks.
good.
Right after the sharks, yes.
But you know, anything, you know, and government is good. You know, we do need order. We need control. You know, if there's no
It's a
government, there's
backbone.
probably chaos. But I think we
always
can
feel-
do.
Side note, I always feel like it should just be ruled by a moral code.
I would
You
love
know?
that.
Oh, yeah, of course,
I
the
really,
dream.
you know, and because I was, and I kind of still am on that fence too. You know, my girlfriend, she's a pro like government person, and we always have like not debates about it, but just
Small
discussions
little
about it.
arguments.
Yeah, and like, you know, she has, you know, and I've been, as you know, we've been in business, we've learned to hold on to your, you know, opinions less tightly, and sometimes just listen, be open to other people's opinions, even if you
Yeah.
like feel really strongly against it. Just, you know, listen, try to be sound about it. And so she,
Because you don't always have to agree with someone's opinion.
yeah, and
Yeah.
But
she's
it's always good to make them feel heard.
yeah.
But you said she's what?
She's worked a lot, you know, actually with the city of Wilmington, with Councilwoman Rashima Dixon, and on some like labor union programs and some of these, a lot of community things, and it's helping to see. I think, you know, they do help and they do mean well. It's just, you know, sometimes I think private sector can motivate them and be a little bit more nimble and flexible and do things quicker. So it's going to take us working together, which obviously is not an easy thing, you know, with government.
Yeah, we understand it's
We
not
just-
an easy thing, but we're not afraid to be the leaders
Go
in
after
that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you shouldn't.
No, of course not.
Fearless in intent.
Yeah.
Red policy and red tape is all in the government, so that's definitely, I'd say, the hardest part of dealing with those. And the thing is, a lot of the government and the nonprofits are mostly are connected most, we believe, because many of the nonprofit directors and leaders are actually on the boards of all of the global government agencies. That's the biggest
And the
thing here in
nonprofits.
Wilmington, which has slowed
So the
growth.
rich always get richer.
Because
It's
they
only a
keep
small
everything
group
to
of-
themselves. It's
I mean-
all it's all in the relationship between the nonprofit and the government.
I mean, take the land bank, for example.
Because they low-key rule
Yeah.
the government. The nonprofit directors and leaders low-key are having so much influence in the government.
It's because nonprofits aren't really nonprofits. They're all like profit.
Bam.
They're just ways
Just-
to hide money.
And that's why Connections Community Sport Program did like $115 million in business roughly last year, but they only spent, you know, the way their financials work out, they don't make any money at the end of the year.
Wouldn't it be nice to not have that money?
Yeah. So, but that's, you know,
that they
don't wanna
probably
get-
don't even have to
don't
pay
wanna
taxes
get
on either.
too deep into that. We might get like shot or something.
Yeah, right.
You never know.
Feds.
They're probably,
It's not our
they're probably-
cup of tea,
they're
it's
probably
over
listening.
there.
Feds don't
Because they're
even
involved in
listen.
like the prison systems,
Oh,
and
the
public housing.
we won't
and all
even
that,
get
so-
started on all that as well.
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Prison
the deep,
system is a whole other
that's the
business.
deep, dark, scary side of this whole thing, is because it's a market.
Yeah.
And if all that
It's all
went away,
business.
they wouldn't have those contracts anymore.
Yeah.
Just like the homeless people shit.
Exactly.
That's yeah.
It's contracts. It's
That's why we're designing our business model to have that not be even an internal conflict of interest. That exiting still makes sense in our business model. That actual the positive outcomes of the families not needing this assistance anymore can still be in our benefit because we could sell them another house. We could keep that going. Exactly.
And you didn't really talk much about. Was that one of the problems that you had with finding the right investor?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely say
Because
so.
too much of them were focused on just the economic side.
I was our
I mean,
first investor.
You had said that you were like looking for someone more in your morals and stuff like that.
It was also of the social impact. The social impact as a sector is still not generally accepted. Around in the country, it's still
starting to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Did
Yeah,
the
it's
investors
new.
you guys work with have experience with social impact stuff? I know she's a big time person.
I can't say yes or no 100%.
Well, they're definitely they're philanthropists. They've because her husband's very successful, they fly around the world and do things like build wells for villages and
Wouldn't it be nice to do
yeah.
stuff like that?
I mean they're when you're a multi-billionaire, you can go to Chile and install wells and
Build schools.
literally give women money to build a daycare and
I feel like
bail
it'd be
out
so
a
sick to
women's
do.
homeless
No, of
shelter.
course.
and-
Once
Like
they
go
go
around
I mean-
the world and be like, how can I, how can I give my money today?
Yeah, exactly. That's your job. Figure out how to give it out.
That's what this guy does. So he.
Yeah, no, he's awesome.
They
yeah.
really liked that we were trying to look more at the social side of it.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, to go back to the point is, we only had 5 minutes of exposure, during our pitch to do that. We had never met the guy before, at all. It was, we were in the right place, at the right time, and we were ready with our pitch. How it
Everything
came out, it was
happens for a
just,
reason.
it was, we weren't, and we're still not, the smartest, we're not the richest, we're not,
Doesn't
reinventing the wheel. We just were passionate and
Well, you can damn well say we'll work the hardest. Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're not. I'd say that's kind of the story of our life. We're not,
Yeah.
And I definitely
Smartest, but we
agree
work
that
the
y'all are some of the hardest fucking workers there are.
You too, man. We see you grinding all the time.
Man,
We're a community, man.
Y'all work
Yeah.
harder than me.
No, don't say that.
But yeah. So, where are you guys going in the future with this?
Oh,
How
boy.
much? You said 30 houses, right? That's your goal.
It's our goal.
So
When do you want that by?
So we believe we can get there by 2023 latest too, which is adding 27 houses to our portfolio. If we really, really work hard, possibly at the latter end of 2022, but more realistically, especially
so that's
as we're
about
learning.
6 houses a year.
Roughly, yeah. And it really all depends, with us raising our next round of financing and everything, because obviously you can't buy the houses if you don't raise the money.
Mhm.
But we could conservatively get to 30 houses within that 3-year period, 3-4 year period or so, because we're only human and we can't fix every single house ourselves like we did with these ones. We're probably going to have to develop a program that trains or hires individuals
Well, I
to
mean, you've
do
got
some
all
of
the
these
connects,
renovations and
so
everything.
all you gotta do is
Yeah.
just figure that process out.
And that's part of the story too. That's why when we're going out to New York City and explaining our process to people say, why Wilmington? Why Wilmington? Because Wilmington is the perfect place to do something like this, because Wilmington is a smaller city, and that means all the relationships are more easily accessible. Everybody knows what people are doing together. We can call up Logan Herring, who's part of the the Reach Riverside, say, hey, we're operating right in the same neighborhood you are. How can we work together and combine our resources, because we have the same goal, neighborhood revitalization. And it's just something like that. If we were in New York City, I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible. It would definitely be certainly be a lot harder to find the right people to talk to
So
to
many
get stuff
people
done.
doing
Yeah.
Our business model is like 85% relationship based. This thing, we make money and unique value because the phases of our business model are raising capital. Obviously is first, buying a property, renovating a property, renting a property. But we have specific partnerships or contacts in each phase which either drives down the cost or guarantees, consistent rents. And these things you couldn't
Or
do.
minimizes time.
Exactly. And these things you couldn't do if you're just going at it by yourself.
Yeah.
In Delaware, obviously being as small as it is, it's much easier to get those partnerships in every phase as opposed to New York where, we could probably find an investor who may want to give us money, but we
Find all
in
the other
no
little
way are going
parts.
to get to a public municipality that's going to give us a house for a reduced rate. Or we're probably not going to be able to find a housing director at some nonprofit in New York because, if we don't, in 2 seconds, if we don't, spit out what we want. In New York, those people, they'll just turn you away. They'll squash you like a bug.
So would you guys even want to move on to new markets, or do you specifically
Not
want
yet.
it?
No, we want to iron out the
build
model.
We need to
course.
build a really strong foundation of at minimum. And again, our number is 30 because, how can you,
Solid amount.
you need to have a business that is self-sustaining. A lot of people, and even, Mr. Thayer DuPont, we've been talking with him recently, he's very proactive about speaking about nonprofits and how, they do great work, but how can you really help somebody if you can't keep your own lights on, if you can't have a sustainable business to where you have to every year go and try to get more grants. Because he might give money to a nonprofit that's doing good work, but a year later the same one is coming back to him and asking for more money. He doesn't want that. He wants the business, he's
To
okay
run
with
more sustainably.
investing in
Yeah.
in the beginning, but that business should be able to produce enough revenue that eventually they don't
Builds
have
and
to keep
builds and
doing
builds.
it, and then they can
Snowball
keep
effect.
Yeah.
helping more people. So we similarly are at a point now where we're looking at how do we build out this company to where it can sustain itself while also having this impact. And to get to the 27 houses, we're obviously going to have to raise money
More
for the
capital.
houses, but we have to have money for trucks, tools, equipment, potential
Storage
new
space.
hires. We have to raise roughly $2 million to get to the point that we're
Of 30
looking
houses.
at.
Yes.
It's not, the 30 houses is going to be 1.2 to 1.6 million dollars, but the rest is going to be working capital. It's going to be business expenses. It's going to be, the actual, eventually and hopefully, if we find the right investor who believes, okay, we have good potential, maybe we incorporate small salaries of, even $20,000 to $30,000 just to get us by a year baked into the investment of the company. Because, like you said, real estate is a long-term play. The company is not going to produce enough money for us to take care of ourselves for a long time, but we're invested in the business. So, we're willing to forego that instant gratification for a little bit until it
Hold
can.
out the weight. Yeah.
But we're recording, we know.
Yeah.
And, one day it'll definitely be there. But in the meantime, we also hustle. I do plumbing, he does music booking, so we do whatever it takes.
As you should.
Yeah, man.
As you should. Love the hustle, guys.
I appreciate it,
Mike.
man.
Love the hustle, man.
Trying
I
to
can't
all
wait to
rise
see you.
together.
Of course, yeah. We're all on the rise.
Yeah.
That's what this is all
Good.
about.
Yeah.
Feel me? This is all when we're like 26 or 30, 34, 35, we're gonna look back at shit like this and be like, wow, look, we really manifested this stuff. Or even
Yeah.
5 years later,
Oh, well, everything changed
'cause
in
what are
2
you,
years.
22 now?
Yeah, we're 20, I'm
22.
5 days older than Joel.
22.
Yeah.
So when you're 27, you probably look back at this, right? That's 2020. No, that would be 2024.
Yeah.
So
six.
so 4 years.
Yep.
Look back at this and be like, damn.
Yeah.
We've
I'm
grown.
hoping. My personal goal is before I'm 30 to have assets worth $1 million in the company. So if we really, really work hard, we're
I
a
think
little
you can do
over
it.
10. We're a little over 10% of the way there. So if we
Matter of fact, I know you guys could do it.
gotta raise some more money.
Mm.
You got it.
We've-
You did it once, you can do it again.
Yeah.
A little bit more intensive, but we're not afraid of that.
But now you have numbers and everything behind you.
Yeah.
So it'll go a lot smoother. It's not just people putting hope to face,
Yeah.
and a personality.
Mm.
It's like, look, we actually done this. We've gotten investors. We work with them. Check our rapport.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the big thing. Well, we're working for a lot of things. Really, the cherry on the top of that is the amount of success rates we can get with this pilot program.
Our data.
Our data.
Results.
Mhm.
The results.
If we can really show that, then we feel as many people as we could handle participating in the company, I think will come if we can, because there's a lot of people looking for this solution, because these public housing programs have been taken advantage for so long. It's crazy.
Draining millions of dollars.
They're really, really looking for
Yeah.
a solution.
Where does that money go? Do you guys know?
It's
the pockets.
Well,
of
we
a
talked
few.
about in the past these public housing programs, there had been the private sector that had been getting the economic return but not the social return.
Mhm.
Even if there were 0 exits in a home,
You get all
has
the
just
money.
the same rent
Every
coming
month.
through. It doesn't change the balance sheets and the income statements for
It's just numbers.
the real estate owner.
Just
Exactly.
people.
Numbers, no people.
Exactly.
The real estate investor isn't incentivized to
Take care.
take
of
care.
people.
Exactly. We're building in these safeguards
So that is
in our
making me
model.
money?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it going.
Yeah.
People are finally starting to pay attention to
Yeah.
that.
People are getting woke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is why on June 19th, we have a meeting with a director of housing and urban development up in Philly, who oversees the area and oversees a very large budget and, funds a lot of these programs. And so the housing model that we are operating under is called Section 3 housing, permanent supportive housing. And so if we, show good results from our program, and we're talking about this with him on the 19th, then he is potentially willing to fund us, directly from HUD, which is, the highest level in housing that you can get, and pairing that funding with, some of our potential private investors or the Freedom Foundation that we're working with
The money could
to
be
raise
unlimited.
our round to $2 million, so that they could really be our, key to establishing this as a, more national model or
Well, shit, I wish you guys the best on that.
Nice.
June 19th.
big day.
That's going to be a real big day
That's
for
what we're
y'all.
preparing for. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, right.
That's really awesome. So
Thank you,
I'm
bro.
trying to think of another question to ask. If you can give the younger viewers like a piece of advice about entrepreneurship or doing something in the real estate field, what's one or maybe 2 things you would give them? Just some advice on managing
Yeah,
all
yeah.
this as well as like going to school and
Oh,
working, because you guys you guys have been living stressful lives for the last 3 years building this.
It's
Very time consuming too.
It's been fun.
Vince, our mentor Vince DeFelice, that we spoke about, that gave us let us into his class. He always calls on Winston Churchill. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts.
Mhm.
And that's exactly our story. It's exactly what when I was in high school, I had my first venture. I basically brought together the 7 red clay schools and said, hey, we need a student government to bring together the schools and make people realize that the prejudice that we all have between them isn't real. And that failed at the end of it. And honestly, it was a really, really dark period of my life. I remember I was just shocked at the thing that I had worked so hard for 2 years and knew it was going to die because I was leaving, I was graduating. And, going into college, freshman year was just a negative time, but then Joel really helped me out and called me up and said, hey, come take this class, and it gave me more of a direction and a center in my life. And it wasn't easy, but it was that courage to continue, even though I went down, I wasn't being productive, wasn't working for much. That courage to continue helped going and helped make it stronger and make everything better. And eventually I realized that we create our own future by acting today as we wish tomorrow to be. And and like you said, it's stressful. It's as simple as that. But if you keep that in mind day by day by day, you get desensitized to that stress. That I talk to my dad about all the time. He says, "How are you handling your stress?" And I'm just like, I know I'm gonna get it done. It's just about figuring out how. Don't think about it too much. And you do get stressed, but you learn how to handle it.
Yeah,
And that's by persevering.
that's dope. I like that.
Right.
Say that quote one more time so I know I have it.
We create our own future by acting today as we wish tomorrow to be.
Oh, that was in the Winston Church.
Oh, you want which one? Was you the Winston?
Give me that
Winston.
book, yeah.
And then the other one is success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts.
I like both of those.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
One of the favorite ones that I actually took away from this weekend, Jeff Hoffman coincidentally was connected to, you know, our investor. He says, you know, you may be successful, but will you matter? It was really, really deep because he was talking about this whole societal change where people are now actually looking at, you know, the impact of business. They want to do business, but we want to do good. Us, people our age and down, pretty much for the most part all care about, you know, people, the planet and everything. And it's the first time in a long time it really seems like it's like that.
We don't know, but there's not much data that goes back.
That was the basis.
The first time in like ever.
That was the basis of this talk, you know, is, you know, you may be good, you know, even if you, and it was crazy because he spoke about moments, you know, where he wished he didn't have his money because he was miserable, because, you know, he didn't have a balance in his life and everything. You know, he literally had times where he said he wanted to give away his money, and, you know, was depressed and all this stuff. And it's crazy, you know, if you think you sell your business for $100 million at 27 like he did, you think you won't be, you know, and that was the beginning of this. You know, it's 100 million. This man, you know, now is worth 3.4, 3.5.
Money doesn't make you happy.
Not at all. And he even talked about Kate Spade and
Victoria's Secret. The guy that made Victoria's Secret
like,
jumped off a bridge.
Oh, he literally brought this up in his talk because he felt so strongly about it. Because you know, they see, everyone knows how successful he is, but, you know, he says, guys, this isn't happiness. So he says literally, you know, you may be successful, but will you matter? And that one really, you know, struck a chord with me because
that's deep.
It made me think, like, dude, like, you could live a whole life busting your behind, you know, have all this money, have all these cars, but, like, really, like, does it even matter if you didn't leave the world a better place than you left it? Does it really even matter? Will it even be worth it? And so
at that point, no, it's not.
He really made me want to, like, make people value what we do, you know. And so he also had this other thing where he was talking about a homeless shelter situation that he did. He says your success, our business success can be someone else's miracle. You know, us just doing our business can be someone else's miracle. So it's those two things were really impactful to me. So I want to do business, but, you know, have people say, man, that guy, you know, gave me a house, you know, and helped me get off my feet, and now I'm successful. That's respectable.
It is respectful.
Even if I have a little less money, I'd rather have less money and, you know,
but your social
people
impact is crazy.
Be able to walk on the northeast side of Claymont, us freaking little, you know, young kids be able to walk on the northeast side of Wilmington, where some people, you know, freak out. They're like, Wilmington, what? You know, I'll never go there, da-da-da. But, you know, we know literally the entire neighborhood. You know, I feel safer walking around that block than I do, you know, in some places in, like, you know, better parts of the city, or even, like, in, like, it's really crazy
people
how
look
that's
at you
been.
funny as shit.
It's really, really interesting,
outsider.
but, you know, I feel as that the impact is important.
I'd like that, because I've always wanted an impact like that as well too. You can ask him. When he first met me, I was always telling him, like, yo, I want to make an impact so big that, like, I get a statue.
Yeah, man, it's
and it's not even about the, you know.
No, it's not about the statue. It's about the
it's about
why the statue happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck am I gonna do that's so important, you know, and like impacts so many people's lives that they want to, like, commemorate.
I say that the community, you know, if that community wants that statue, you can be so good that they want that and support that. That's the sickest thing ever.
But it's
and
like, damn, how can you make that impact?
Yeah.
But you guys are doing it.
As opposed to someone who's just, you know, super successful and just like, oh, I want to build a statue of myself. You know, any rich person can do that, but do the people
while you were explaining your story, I was literally, like, visualizing your guy's statue.
That'd be awesome. It'd be cool.
Like that is.
My dream is to one day, you know, because we're assuming or hoping all of our properties will be in the same area, but, you know, when people do good in communities for a long time, sometimes they can get streets named after their initiative or whatever. So I've always seen Wilminvest Way as like a potential thing as a street.
I just got chills.
Really, really cool.
That literally just gave me chills.
Turn on to Wilminvest Way and, you know, see these nice houses and people and everything. So that'd be like our version of a statue or something. You know, Wilminvest Way of the street named or something.
Wilminvest Ave, Wilminvest Way, Wilminvest Highway. Maybe like the
rename
new fucking DuPonts, yo. DuPonts are out, Wilminvest is in.
Shit, that, man, they go back to like the 1600s or something like that.
Right. It's crazy that that family is from Delaware.
France.
France,
and
yeah,
then came over.
originally
They
France
most-
to Delaware.
But still, no, you're not wrong. They're relatively speaking, they are from
they
Delaware.
live in-
Yeah. They've
they had
been,
bases
they've been
here
here
for
for
a
a little bit.
They were like the
I
first.
didn't
They
mean
were
to reach
the-
it.
No,
Like,
of course. If I
they
go back, say I'm Swedish
You
or
could basically
something.
I was like back
Found-
1600s. So.
You could almost say they founded Delaware, kind of, sort of.
Kind of.
Pretty
I
much,
mean,
like-
the backbone of the economy for it, man. Everybody, worked
Yeah.
it before there was GM.
Yeah.
Worked it to do.
It was the job.
Worked
And I'm
at
pretty
Dubai.
sure they probably invested in a lot of.
Oh, of
those
course.
places.
You know, people called the.
Them and
I
Gore.
forget
Mhm.
who was the head guy at that point, but he had the name of Uncle Doopy because like everyone
Uncle
in
Dookie.
everyone
I heard
in
of that.
Wilmington was getting paid from this dude, the dude
What?
Uncle Doopy. Yeah.
Like a kind of a play on like an Uncle Sam kind of thing.
No, like
Maybe
this,
it's
this,
flawless.
this is where this guy who was leading at the one point is literally paying like I feel like a quarter or a third of the people in the state at one point.
That's
He was
nuts.
called Uncle Doopy.
Uncle
Someone
Dookie.
told me. You only find that from like old people who
Trying
were
to get
actually
that
there.
family.
Yeah.